Okay, hello, welcome back to another game of chess. Today we are facing the move e4. I'm going to go for a Scandinavian. Of course, we're going to be looking to play a modern variation of the Scandinavian. I shouldn't hover over this because occasionally people play e5. I drop this here as some kind of Pavlovian response to hearing the click of them moving their pawn. Although takes makes a different sound, so I guess it's not quite. Let's just play knight f6 and get on with the game. We are, of course, attacking this pawn twice. There are a few moves. You can try and hold on to the pawn with c4, or you can give it back by playing d4 here. Now, do we want to just take back the pawn? No. We want to go for something far more exciting. We're going to say Obrigado, of course, to our opponent, and we're going to play bishop to g4. This is known as the Portuguese gambit. Now, two real approaches, I guess three, maybe four, but that one doesn't happen so often. You either have a pair of cojones and play f3, saying, listen, you've attacked my queen, but I can play f3, a pawn move which kicks the bishop, forces it to move. Like, how could this be a good idea? Or you can play something literally known as the worst variation, where you just try and trade bishops. But here, my opponent, all due respect to them, they play f3. We're going to go bishop f5. We've moved our bishop twice in the opening? Why on earth would he move the same piece twice in the opening, especially when that bishop could have just gone to f5 in the first place, and our opponent wouldn't have got this free move that was f3 here? Because actually, I mean, yeah, it's a free move. You know, we could have played bishop f5 and they wouldn't have had the time to play f3. Would they have wanted to play f3? I highly doubt it, because it impedes the development of the knight. It very much softens up this diagonal to the king side, so castle and king side becomes slightly more dubious. It uses time to do something that is committal and fundamentally the argument we're making unproductive. So e6 here, you know, we're clearly not winning this pawn back by taking it with pieces now. They've played c4 and decided to defend it, so of course we need to try and do it with a pawn. Now they solidify their pawn advantage. If we recapture, let's say with the bishop, we're just down a pawn there. I've moved my bishop 3 times, okay. If I take with the pawn on the other hand, well, I mean, yeah, I have moved my bishop a bunch of times, but why am I just going to isolate my e-pawn? How about I just don't take this at all? How about I play knight c6? How about development over absolutely everything? I let you take on f7. I say, listen, I do not care at all about my king being dislodged from its e8 home comfort there. Instead, I actually relish the opportunity to play a very, very exciting, dynamic, and slightly advantageous for black position where, oh yeah, baby, my opponent takes, we end up with the king on f7, on move 7, and this is very marginally better for black. Now, we're ready to take this pawn, and so my opponent, I mean, walking directly into the predicted chain of logic that I imposed on a hypothetical opponent while dabbling in an analysis board. That whole phrase could have been replaced with the word prep, but they're walking into prep, and they play d5. I mean, it seems like a logical solution. Your problem here is that I'm immediately going to go knight b4. And we start making threats. Now, you'll notice in this position, 8 moves into the game, you haven't managed to move a single piece. That probably should tell you something about the dire nature of my opponent's position. Obviously, they now do move a piece, but it's a knight to a3. Knights on the rim tend to be dim, grim, whatever else you want to do that rhymes. Winning chances are slim, perhaps? Come on now. And this opening is a fantastic example of some serious initiative. So once once they take here, we take with the king, they defend this pawn, sure, but we initially, in taking this, we're attacking this pawn here. They defend it. We attack a new threat. They defend it. Now look, I get to literally complete the development of all my minor pieces. I get to slice this absolutely disgusting diagonal. You'll see that now, or maybe it's more obvious now rather, that the f3 move is actually a weakness in their position rather than a potential strength. Every single minor piece developed, and okay, you've moved precisely one of yours and your king's in the open. Now, why did I want my king on f7? Well, that's because, listen, if I were in this position here, my king was on e8, I could move the bishop out, but then, I'd have to castle, then maybe play rook e8 as a check. In this position, now that my king's on f7, of course, after bishop c5, there's nothing impeding my rook from going straight to e8. Lifting the king up here actually speeds up the development of the rook, and getting on this diagonal, I mean, I'm pretty sure, or sorry, not diagonal, but this open file. It's an open file and your king's there. Rook e8 kind of has to be a no-brainer. You can't run this way, the bishop cuts this. There's probably also just a straight up knight sack, because if pawn takes check, and then, I mean, if king here, we go into f2, if king here. It's not wildly obvious, but I really would imagine we can start with a check here. You're going to have to block with something, lest you want to play king to d2, and then I'm pretty sure bishop e3 should win on the spot, no? I don't know, actually, maybe not, because you have king c3, and if you survive on c3, well then, I mean, I guess you survive on c3, but you would imagine that objectively, again, looking at the utility of my pieces, how I'm using them here, you've made 10 moves, and 9 of them have been pawn pushes. They do play king d2. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, if they'd blocked, by the way, what I wanted to say was I mean, let's say they block with the bishop here, we can maybe start thinking about knight d3 check, because you can't take, because of course the bishop's pinned, and there's all sorts of ideas there. I wonder whether the engine will have preferred the knight g4 and queen h4 infiltration. It's hard to argue with rook e8 check, because, you know, king here, you've now made 11 moves, 9 pawn moves, a knight on the rim, and king d2. Is that a good opening? No. I've developed everything, and my king is unassailable on these beautiful light squares because your pawns are all in the way. So it now remains to be calculated, I guess. Is it a good idea to go bishop check? Because if you go here, I take this for free. Awesome. If you go king c3, though, I'm just wondering, what's my immediate follow-up? Do I have a knight sack? Check. Pawn takes. Check. And then I guess either king b3 or king c4. King b3, I'd imagine, has to be the right move. I feel like the king kind of runs away here a little, you know? Here, king c3. What if I go takes now? Or, like, takes here, and you take and I play queen takes? Then king c3, and at that point, surely I have disgusting mates all over the place, no? I guess queen e5. You go back onto the d file, I go rook d8, okay? You go to b3, though. How the hell do I not have, like, completely forcing checkmate immediately right now? That's what's baffling me slightly here. Bishop here, king c3. I'm gonna kick myself if I, you know, if this is the best move and I don't play it. It's such an obvious move. I guess also c6 on the cards. My bishop is immediately hanging. Is that relevant? I mean, it is probably relevant. Ah, man, where's my win? There's definitely a win here. I just need to find it. And I also need to not lose on time, because I will genuinely cry. What if I go like knight here? Oh my lord, hold on, knight here. If you take, do I have... That's not checkmate. Don't tell me that's checkmate. That could be the most disgusting... I mean, I said I had a win and I need to find it. I believe this is the win. There's probably a bunch of other winning moves. Knight takes here, not with the threat of, you know, after pawn takes, check, and, you know, we're just breaking in general. No, no, no. With the threat of vacating b4 to play bishop b4 check, you have no knight on b1 to block. We cut, I mean, the bishops, the crisscross applesauce, as I've often heard to it referred by Americans, I think. That's not really a phrase we rely on here in the UK, but maybe it is. I'm not wildly familiar. I just have heard, I believe Hikaru Nakamura refer to bishops in this orientation as crisscross applesauce. So I'm going to try and emulate one of the absolute goats here. Oh, my lord. A brief gander at the analysis board should give you all the information that you need. 95% accuracy. I guess we're not really looking at the board, we're looking at the accuracy metric. 0 inaccuracy, 0 mistakes, 0 blunders. Yeah, this is just a perfect game. I mean, it's straight prep, and the most disgusting kind of prep, where you end up with your king on f7. They make a blunder here. I think you've got to play knight g to e2 to hold this, and you don't allow such imminent rook e8 ideas, like you're prophylactically blocking, I guess. It's very unintuitive because you want to be able to move the bishop. I think the king might end up sneaking to f2, and you can kind of build up here. I guess I still have knight b4. Knight a3 though? Let me have a little look. No, knight a3, and you... Oh, you get absolutely battered here, obviously, my bad. So then, yeah, king f2. I was right about that much. Bishop c5 is apparently a move. That makes sense. Then queen d2. Yeah, so they have to be very, very, very accurate once they've reached this position. And of course, one pretty intuitive and, you know, therefore relatively forgivable slip up, but a slip up nevertheless, is this d5 move. If we have a little look at the database here, you'll see, I mean, yeah, that 60% of the time d5's played. Sorry, I say you'll see, and my face cam is obscuring it. There you go. 60% of the time d5's played, and it just sucks terribly. And after d5, we just have this super pleasant knight b4, bring the bishop in now. The check presumably was the best move. Yeah, okay, there you go. Rook e8, slightly better than knight g4, although knight g4 also fantastic. King here, and at this point, knight, damn, knight, wait, hold on. No, this was the best move. For some reason, it's got knight fd5 listed as mate in 8, and knight bd5 listed as mate. What the hell? Why is this a faster mate? No one cares. The idea to vacate this and threaten this is clearly unbelievably compelling. The only way to remotely try to survive for a little bit is to do something like this, because I guess at that point you create the c2 square for your king to run, but clearly it's all over. I mean, even if just takes and you take like this, you're not surviving this position. And so, of course, we get a gorgeous checkmate there. Right, I think it's time for another game. For the cherry on top, I do believe it's time for a nice little blitz game. We're going to go for a 3-0 blitz game, and my opponent is going to play. I mean, we've played a Scandinavian. There's no way. Imagine if we get the same... Please. They're going to play bishop e2. I just feel it. They're going to ruin everything and play bishop e2. There's absolutely no way. There's no way we see another Portuguese in a blitz game. I'll be honest, I went for like a couple games in between this, maybe more than a couple, honestly, trying to get like a nice cherry on top blitz game for this video, but this is probably like half an hour later or something. Not to mess with the continuity there, by the way, but you know, I'd rather be transparent and honest. Those games were not exciting, and I just sort of lost not embarrassingly, even just unentertainingly. I got really good positions and got low on time and flagged, so I was hunting for a better cherry on top. There is absolutely no way I'm going to get a blitz game in the exact same position. That is fantastic. I bet you any money, not any money, they could play like a bishop e3 or something, but I bet we don't see the only move that holds on to advantage for white. As analyzed, I mean, what a fantastic. I'm glad I stuck it out for a nice little, you know, beautiful bit of continuity to have the blitz game then follow the precise same line. They do play bishop e3 here. Fantastic. Okay, I'm gonna go check. We get to see a different approach here. So if they do this, fine. Rook e8. We're still gonna develop. We're gonna develop as quick as possible. Doing so with the check is gonna be very effective. Now, rook takes here is gonna be a legitimate threat. I do believe. I'm not entirely sure. I'm just gonna do this. I simply trust the process. What are you gonna do? You know, I have bishop here. Oh my lord, it's like that idea with the queen here and the knight kid. Hold on. We just analyzed a very similar idea. Knight here, presumably, because you got to hold this pawn. Okay, now, I don't know, queen e7 maybe? You got to step away and then I can bring my rook in? I guess I'm gonna go queen e7 check, I think. Yeah, if you go back this way, this is still a problem. And I'd imagine, I mean, maybe takes first. Knight takes rook here, or do we start with rook here? Queen comes to d2 though. Okay, I mean, I think I'm gonna go rook d8. You can't push, you can't take. Maybe doing this first would have been a good idea. I'm down 4 points of material. I can't believe I got another, you know, fully accepted king f7 Portuguese gambit. This is awesome. Let me please, for the love of Jesus, convert this. Okay, wait, hold on. I can just, that cannot be right. I guess you just want to run this way. Here, and you run this way. I get some discovery maybe, I don't know. Take with the knight, that probably has to be the right idea, you'd imagine. Here, and then honestly, rook takes to have the discovery, I think. Instead of taking with the bishop and just letting them step aside, no, maybe they just step aside straight away. I at least have knight c2, and you at least look like you're in a whole lot of trouble. Maybe even there's like a queen e3. I don't know. King here, queen e3. But I should be... Knight here, right? Oh my lord, knight here is so nasty. We don't just attack the rook, we attack the queen, and we attack the fork. So, the check, I hold these squares, and if you step into here, there's going to be a discovery. This is the most unbelievably nasty position. I think probably they should legitimately just like sack their queen or something. Even then, they're still... Okay, and they go for it. This is disgusting. I can go check first, and honestly, I think I might. Actually, let's keep the tempo on the rook. Let's take like this. Tempo on the rook. You have two rooks... It's a long day. I mean, I can take the rook for free. I can also go check here. I feel like taking the rook for free is going to be a fantastic idea. I'm going to bring this back in. And of course, they're going to resign. The Portuguese gambit is a disgusting, disgusting gambit from the position with the fully accepted e takes f7 position. Yeah, with the once the king gets to f7. This will probably be heavily featured at some point in the thumbnail, you'd imagine. But from this position, it is so dangerous for white. Let's analyze that game as well. Yeah, okay. I mean, apparently one mistake. It's saying 94% accuracy. A mistake? What? Oh. No. How did I miss that? That's so beautiful. I'm sure there were some of you as well. I'm sure there were some of you that were sitting there thinking, come on, fine knight to e1, and I did not. And I genuinely, I mean, that's ruined the entire thing. I wouldn't be surprised if I lost 3,000 subscribers off this video. That is so terrible. That is so unbelievably terrible. I cannot believe I just missed knight to e1 checkmate. That is a disgusting move. Obviously, it's a mistake to take the queen. We had a forced mate. I believe the inaccuracies were at the point of rook takes here, which, okay, I apparently had a better move, which was bishop c5 straight away. I guess that makes sense, and then I'm just threatening to sack. And if here... Yeah, sure, I sack. And I guess the reason that maybe the sack was erroneous is because actually you don't have to accept... Hold on, let me get my glasses back on to look after my eyes. You can instead just take the bishop here and then, you know, apparently rook d3. What the hell is that? And if bishop takes, I guess I have check. This gambit is so unbelievably disgusting. The unfortunate fact is, though, and this video will maybe not give you that impression, but the unfortunate fact is, very often, you know, I've got my database set to games 1800 and above, blitz and rapid. You're just going to see bishop e2. That's the most popular move 42% of the time. Now, f3 does occur quite regularly, but it's dangerous for white. They can actually go for like a correspondence refutation with g4 here, and this is all some good stuff. However, we are looking at 100,000 games in this position pretty much. Or actually, okay, 100,000 games in this position pretty much, and then like 50% of them with people taking here. But yeah, as I said, knight e2 is the only move. Of course, this was then perfectly correct. Rook here, went for the sack, should have played bishop c5 because they could have just taken my bishop. But the king comes here, bishop c5, fantastic idea. They bring the knight. The queen e7 check, was that the best move? Yep, fantastic. Check with the queen, king goes back, bring the rook in. I mean, this was pretty perfect stuff, I believe. Then knight takes, was that also the best move? Rook takes d4? Goodness gracious me, if knight takes, then knight takes, I guess I have this. So, I mean, the problem with knight takes is that they could trade the knight first, and then I wouldn't have all these shenanigans with the knight. Taking on f3 was apparently a mate in 15, Christ. But knight here with the idea to bounce back in like this, and I am genuinely so heartbroken that they played queen takes d8, and I did not find the unbelievable mate in one that is knight to e1 checkmate. I mean, there were too many ideas to even begin to think of knight to e1 mate. We take this, and then, you know, I was thinking of giving this. They have to come back here, and then some vague shenanigans happens. I don't know. It was clearly going to be mate at some point, but goddamn, knight e1 would have been sweet. You know what? As I outro this video, I'm going to leave this on the board just as a bitter reminder of what could have been. Thank you guys immensely for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed these two absolutely disgusting miniatures in the Portuguese gambit. I do have to give a shout out to a man by the name of Will Taylor Glazer. As much as that name disturbs me, I believe I only started playing this variation because of his suggestion in the comments. He's actually better than me at chess. It's a crazy lore that we've got going on here on the Will Taylor Chess channel. So shout out to WTG for that, I guess. Goddamn. If you enjoyed this video and you fancy seeing more like it, check out the Patreon. The link is in the description. There is a bonus Patreon exclusive weekly video posted every Sunday, just like the one you've seen on the YouTube here today. Patrons also get their name at the end of my videos on the esteemed patron scroll, and other perks like discounts from stuff I sell on the Patreon, etc. If you fancy supporting the channel, if you like my stuff, check out the Patreon. I would majorly appreciate it. And there are 26, I believe, at the time of this release, sweet videos. That's half a year's worth of weekly videos ready there for you to watch at the mere click of a few buttons, and also parting ways with 8 quid. But if you're not interested, I nevertheless immensely appreciate your viewership. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Leave me any ideas in the comments if you want to see certain stuff here on the channel. I definitely want to get into the kind of, you know, like posting some wins, posting some losses type thing. But I want to do that within the context of like a broader series. You know, it's no secret that I quite heavily cherry pick the best games to make into YouTube videos, not only because it's effort to edit the video, get the thumbnail, post the video, etc., but just because it's, you know, it's only the finest for you guys here on the Will Taylor Chess channel. However, I know there are some of you that want to see a sort of more transparent and honest chess journey, I guess. So in the context of maybe some kind of series, I might start trying to prepare for like an over-the-board tournament, sign up for something like that. I don't know, you'll see in the near future, but for now, hopefully you enjoyed this absolute disgusting exposition of the Portuguese. Obrigado for watching, and I'll see you next time. Like, comment, and subscribe. Goodbye.